Hello, YouTube.
Hello,
Oh my-
YouTube, and welcome back to Black Girls Get Eating Disorders 2, and welcome to the Why are Black People Falling Between the Thigh Gap? Get it, get it, get it, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Why are the Black community falling between the air quote thigh, close air quote, gap? See what I did there? In terms of being recognized. That's what this little mini series is going to be about. So I guess each video will just focus on a section for no longer than 5 to 10 minutes. So in this session, we are going to be looking at, this has been posited by the website, I can't remember the name now, but I'll put it in here, that one of the reasons that eating disorders are going unrecognised within the Black community is one, that the general invisibility of eating disorders. There's a general invisibility of eating disorders other than anorexia nervosa. And it says here that research suggests Black individuals are more likely to suffer with binge eating disorders and bulimia than anorexia nervosa. Therefore, the stereotype of eating disorders consisting only of anorexia, as well as weight stigma and the assumption of sufferers existing in smaller bodies, come together to discriminate against Black individuals. Now, for the purpose of my YouTube channel, because I'm somebody that actually suffered with anorexia nervosa, this is really intriguing and very interesting. It's kind of like a double-edged, kind of like a, would the saying be a double-edged sword, or a bit of a paradox in that sense, because I completely agree that what I see out there is that most people are, like, even for me, when I search every once in a while to see what's out there in terms of people of color and anorexia nervosa, absolute freaking crickets. I see not an abundance, but there are many more articles about Black people suffering from binge eating disorder, bulimia, binging and purge. There's always the element of actually, ingesting the food, taking the food in. So, and there's always a kind of, then there's the problem really of being falling through the gaps because your weight may look particularly air quotes normal, so to speak. So that issue is something that's prevalent, but that's not what I'm going to be touching on here. So that's very real, but that's why I say this is a slight paradox, because it says that there's a general invisibility of eating disorders other than anorexia, and in the wider scheme of things, if you're looking at it in the regular societal way that we talk about of eating disorders being presented, aka, more or less the air quotes white female young girls woman's disease, so to speak, then yeah, that's the case. Everybody's very aware of anorexia nervosa because its symptoms are more physically prevalent, and more, I guess, I don't want to say glorified, that's the wrong word. It's more visible, they're more alarming, they're more in your face, so therefore the more sensational, the more extreme, the more that they are, we see them all over the place, and obviously we have societal thin ideals, so there is this enmeshment, and there is obviously more attention on it, which then in the end does tend to leave the other eating disorders a bit more in the shadows, which is not fair, and which is a point. But here it's interesting, like I'm saying, because they're talking about the general invisibility of eating disorders other than anorexia nervosa. And my point is, as somebody who suffered with anorexia nervosa, I fell through the gaps, air quotes, thigh gaps. I fell through the gaps. And it was because because of a lot of it was because I reckon there was that stereotype of people, even the GPs, not expecting this to happen to a Black female or a Black person. So this is why I say this is a very interesting paradox, because even if there's a general invisibility of other disorders other than anorexia nervosa amongst the Black community, there seems to be an invisibility that even Black people could get anorexia nervosa because of the aforementioned stereotype. Do you see what I'm saying? So I myself, my case was kind of different. And in fact, the GP that actually picked up my illness back in the day when I was diagnosed, she actually was a half mixed race. So she was kind of like, I want to say Black presenting. She was mixed race. She saw it. She clocked it quite quickly. Not many other people did, though. Very interesting. But she was, I'm not saying that she clocked it because she was mixed race. She was she was a really good doctor. But it was very interesting, because I have experienced, and I'll just put some anecdotes. That's why I'm saying that that's something that needs to be looked at, and the stereotype does need to be cobwebbed away, which is why I'm sort of speaking out a little bit more, because it generally is not something that people are expecting to see. I've been hospitalized, and I tell you, when you go onto an eating disorder unit, as you know, it is a locked unit, because let's face it, nobody wants to be there. They will be running out, they would be leaving, so it has to be, for safety as well, it's a locked unit. That doesn't mean everybody's running around crazy. That's just how they are. They're usually just like that, as are most other units in sort of mental health, I guess. But I could have walked out a good few times at the beginning of my admission because staff and staff would hold the door open for me because they think I'm staff. They think I'm a nurse. They thought I was somebody else. Somebody there, because they didn't, this is staff I'm talking about, didn't think that I would be on that unit. And I know it ain't because I was wearing a shit t-shirt. Okay. And even I had experiences with some of the Black cleaners, ethnic cleaners. I remember the first time one woman she stood and she was mopping, and then I passed, and she just looked from my feet. She was seeing who's passing, and then just looked up at me slowly, and the look of shock on her face, not because I looked awful, but just because I'm there, was like, oh my God. It was almost like, and every time like staring, like couldn't believe. It took a while before she was like, she acclimatized to my presence, and she was lovely, but it's just not used to it, right? And going back to the staff, I remember when someone held the door open, and I'm like, no, I'm not leaving. And they're like, oh, and I was like, I've got freaking slippers on. I live here right now. I'm a patient. Look at me. Really take a look at me. I don't have a coat. I don't have a bag. I don't have anything. I'm actually wearing what looks like a very comfortable fleece over, like, two-piece, and I've got fluffy slippers on. So I say all of this in somewhat jest, but it is to say that, like, to make a point that point above of, and why, going back to the main question of why people with eating disorders, Black people, slip through the thigh gap, slip through the net, it is because of, I reckon, for me, it is representation and what's out there, but also it's a paradox. So going back to the question again of, there's still issues with of recognizing that anorexia nervosa, it is not a white girl's disease. It is not something that happens because you want to look a specific way, and therefore it is something that it can affect anyone. And it's something that, especially as you can see here, because more people are diagnosed with binge purge in the Black community, it's almost like there's a bit of a blind spot that, yes, there is a restrictive type. It actually happens. It's very much like there's so many reasons why this happens, but let's recognize that it does happen, and that the people that do have this, it can be double pain, because it really messes with your mind when it comes to everything out there about identity and what anorexia is supposedly supposed to, who supposedly gets it. It's so much of a mind f. So it's really important, and that will be the topic of another video, and why maybe people fall through the thigh gap. I really might need to stop saying that. No, why should I stop saying that? Oh my god, you can't get triggered by the word of a thigh gap. I hope not. God. Anyway, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say in this video. That I just wanted to draw awareness to that. It's just all about me. This video channel is just about drawing awareness to different various areas of this disorder through the lens of my experience, and just a couple of anecdote stories just to say just how it is. And I'm telling you, there are more stories. So hope this was a little bit informative, or just insightful, more likely, more than anything. And join me for the next video. See you soon. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if this is helpful or insightful for you.